the sublime to now the ridiculous. So we're going to just try to do in a few brief minutes a little discussion about the state of analytics and targeting in the sort of media and advertising sort of space. So I'm going to let everybody quickly introduce themselves on the panel, and then we're going to go right into our presentation as hopefully the scene setter for our discussion. So why don't we start with, my name is Tim Hanlon, by the way. I work for Publicis Group. I work in the ventures unit of Vivaki, which is our newly created unit of media and digital. And with me, hopefully, an esteemed panel of people who know a thing or two about analytics and targeting. Dean?
Good morning. I'm Dean Denhart, the president and CEO of BlackArrow. We're a video advertising technology company.
I'm Auren Hoffman from Rapleaf. We collect publicly available data on the web, and then we allow businesses to learn more about their consumers from that.
I'm Alain Levy from Startup Avenue, a French company. We're working in web analytics and behavioral targeting in France with a company called Weborama, and we're pushing this forward to non-online systems like retail analytics and on digital signage analytics with a company called Moderator.
Hi, and my name is Avinash. I'm the author of the book Analytics in Our Day and also the analytics evangelist for Google. And what I want to do today is three quick things, but we've heard a lot about ads and great ads and how do you create better ads and do testing and experimentation and all kinds of things. But what I tend to find is typically happens is this phenomenon. You're walking on a street and you see the silhouette of a beautiful woman or man. And what you do is you start walking faster and then quickly take a peek and glance over, and they're really ugly. And that really is the phenomenon that I deal with, is you can create magnificent ads and place them in the perfect place in the world, but when I come to your website, are you the ugly woman or the ugly man? And how do you find that and measure the end-to-end experience? So what I'm going to do is three quick things is first tell you about the power of the data that you can use, also move you into using data in a more proactive way rather than reactive way, and end with sort of my personal passion, which is competitive intelligence. So I want to start with, so you can move to the video. I want to start with President Bush. Nobody's talked about the poor guy for the couple days here. And I learned a very interesting term from President Bush a few years back, and he's very fond of it. This forms the basis of his decision making. He calls it faith-based initiatives. And it's sort of how he makes decisions across the board about policy or other things. And I thought, and I love this term because to me, this is a faith-based initiative, an ad in a magazine. Because what can you measure about it? You can measure potentially the number of subscriptions that this magazine has. This is Maclean's, the Time Magazine of Canada. And potentially you might be able to measure how many of them are sold on a newsstand. But that's about it. That's about what you can measure. This is truly a faith-based initiative by Chevy. On the other hand, this is not a faith-based initiative. This ad is not a faith-based initiative because I can measure exactly how many people saw the ad. Better, I can measure how many people interact with the ad by measuring the number of clicks. Already it beats the heck out of the magazine. But the most cute thing about this ad is the fact that it is shown at the point of relevance. It is only shown to the people who actually are interested in the product that is being advertised. And this is not a faith-based initiative. And what is close to orgasmic is not what you get here. What is orgasmic is that when the person comes to the website, I can measure what they do. I can measure the number of people who apply for financing, customize a car, download something, interact with it, repeated visits, apply for financing, anything. The thing that I want you to remember more than anything today is how to make advertising immensely more accountable than it is today. And that is really a key message. What excites me about what happens sort of online and what we're learning online and doing offline. The basis of this is the fact that data is a lot more actionable. I'm sure that you've heard this term everywhere used to measure online things, and it irritates me that New York Times still uses the term hits to measure success for a lot of websites because it truly this is the acronym for hits. It's how idiots track success. This is exactly what is the acronym for this. It's so dumb, it irritates me. Anyway. This is a cute metric. I love this metric called bounce rate, and I like it. It's sort of next generation metric because it's very hard to misunderstand. What it measures from a customer perspective is, I came, I puked, I left. It shows you how much you suck. And it's very hard to misunderstand. The first number is bad. The second one is good. It's so easy. You spend millions of dollars acquiring traffic. Don't look at this data puke. What you can go and say is, here are all the people who send me traffic, and here's a measure of if it's good or bad, right? 5 seconds to figure out where you need to stop spending money and where to start spending money more, right? This is beauty of it. We went to the Tina Brown keynote the other day, and this is her website today. And she talked about page views and unique visitors, and that's fine. I think it's okay. It's something that you can do at the start of a business. But aggregated data is mostly crap. And you know, what does it mean to have these many page views and unique visitors? What I want to propose is radically new metrics. So I love the metric loyalty. What I want Tina Brown to tell me is she creating an audience that comes back to her website again and again and again? And so looking at loyalty tells me that 40% of the traffic to the website came once and never again. Another 40% of the traffic came between 9 and 200 times. The fanatics, right? Another metric I love and adore is recency, the gap between each visit. I love it because if I was measuring success of Facebook or the Daily Beast, what I want to know is how many people were there on the website less than 0 days ago. This application is so engaging, so sticky, so crazy that people are there. I mean, 66% of the people on this website were there less than 0 days ago, super poking everyone. Right? These things, people have nothing better to do, but it forms the basis of measuring a sustainable business. I really don't care what is your page views and unique visitor number. You can also use things like on-exit surveys now. There's a methodology from the University of Michigan called the American Customer Satisfaction Index. It's a complex multivariate regression that allows you to predict future behavior of people who've come to your website. As a result of your engagement with our website, how likely is it that you will recommend it? Or better still, how likely is it that you will take an offline action? Visit a dealership, a doctor, make a phone call, buy something at a supermarket. Don't let people get away with conning you with page views and unique visitors, or God forbid hits. Demand more, because it is easily possible to do more. The second thing I want to talk to you about is how do you move beyond hippos? I truly personally believe that most of the internet sucks today because hippos create it. And hippos is an acronym for the highest paid person's opinion. It's truly the reason why most of the web stinks today. We execute what the highest paid person says. Now, some hippos are ugly, like this one. The other ones are pretty. These are all our agencies in torn jeans and black turtleneck sweaters. Right? Very pretty hippos nonetheless, who do not let an ideas democracy foster in the world, right? So one of the greatest gifts that the internet gives you is the ability to be proven wrong, and to be proven wrong fast. Right? You think of a mistake you make in printing a catalog and how long it takes you to figure out you screwed up. 3 months. How long will it take you to figure out online? 3 minutes, right? And one of the best ways to do this is to use multivariate experimentation, A/B testing. I'm a big fan of it. Here is the most successful website in Norway. It is the highest per capita read website in the entire world. It also is the most hideous thing I've ever seen. It's immensely successful now. This is one way to present a customer experience. Here's their direct competitor. I'm not making this up. It's another way. So should you have the most hideous site in the world or only partly hideous? Well, don't let your hippo determine it. Put a test. Put it up in your website. It takes 6.5 minutes for you to launch a test using tools that are freely available in the market. And here's one that directly relates to you. You could still keep the same site. This site has 9 different ads on this page that you can see. You don't even know you're seeing ads. Now, we worked with a company that had this kind of a content website in the US. We ran an experiment. We reduced the number of ads on the page by 25%, improved revenues for the company by 40%, right? Purely through the power of testing experimentation. In that case, what we did is got rid of this thing up top and another one at the bottom. Increased revenue by showing fewer ads. Experiment, right? But you can also use this to create new business models. Here's $1.2 billion business in the US, severely under threat, and they only sell 4 products, $1 billion plus. And what they said, a janitor came up and said, why don't we create a new business, and the only thing I want you to change in the business is start giving the cheapest product for free. Now, of course, nobody wants to hear this. Are you crazy? Think of how long it would take you to come to this decision that we should give away our cheapest product for free. You would have to crunch numbers and models and all kinds of nonsense. What they did is they ran an A/B test online. 95% of the traffic to the website saw the existing page. 5% of the traffic saw this page with the free product. They controlled risk, exposed a new way of doing business, and it was not surprising that the product was immensely successful. What was surprising was that it actually shifted the SKU mix up. People started buying the more expensive product instead of the free one. And this product brought brand new users to the franchise that would never have considered this product. And this is a humongous decision. Rather than waiting 3 years and twiddling their thumbs, they made a decision based on an experiment that on online radically changed the business of this company. At that time was $1 billion, right? Walmart, I met the CMO of Walmart, and what we were talking about is, today Walmart makes decisions about what to stock in a store based on a few people called buyers. And my discussion was with him was, why don't we let the buyers on your website make better bets about what products will be more successful in your stores, right? Move away from your buyers to your real buyers who give you money. Right? I really believe this fact. If you don't engage in experimentation and testing online, you will die. Test your ideas, test your business models. The last thing I want to talk about is the use of competitive intelligence. I grew up in the traditional world and never having access to all this data. I'm astonished at how much data is available online. This is how we used to work in the past. We would guess, we would take the action, and then we would figure out why we failed. It always happens. You don't have to do this online, right? You can research, you can target, and then you shoot. Here's a great example. I had not taken a vacation for the longest time, and I thought, why I would like to research the travel industry because it was on my mind, and I want to go on a vacation with my wife, and I typed in adult vacations. Clearly not the right term to type. Don't do presentations at 1 o'clock in the night. I can find out exactly where in the world adult vacations are most popular. Go Canada. It helps me figure out where I should go with my business. But not only that, now this is truly orgasmic in this case. What I can get are related terms, but what is most important is the data tells me what are the terms and the things that people are most interested in that are rising hottest and fastest in this particular ecosystem. Now, if I was indeed launching a business in adult vacations, I would want to figure out what a Viking vacation is. Clearly, there is some adult stuff going on there that I'm unaware of, right? Or here's a more practical example. This is the footprint in the United States of my business. It's actually a pharmaceutical business. Here's my competitor. What kind of things I could use to ensure that my awareness, my brand awareness, my impact is exactly as this. Look at the contrast between this and that. I can do precise targeting of the advertising dollars I have to spend. And this is my last example. Right? It is so easy to find the audiences that you're interested in. So here's a very important therapeutic drug that everybody needs, and they are my competitor. So here's the traffic for Viagra.com. I don't need to go to Viagra and ask them what their traffic is. Here's my other competitor, Levy. Well, they're not going anywhere except kissing them here. I don't have to worry about them. Now here's me, Cialis, the third big drug in the market. Now the interesting thing is this orange line you see here correlates perfectly with TV ads. I show TV ads. People come, then go away, more TV ads go away, more TV ads go away. Now, if I wanted to steal all the traffic that Viagra.com gets today, I can be very smart about it rather than spending a lot of money on TV, radio, print, or whatever I want to do. What I can go in and say, into a tool and say, what I want is, I want males, 45 and older, who go to Viagra.com. Go find where they go. Take the demographic, psychographic, behavioral target attributes of these customers and find me websites where I should be advertising. What are the websites? What businesses are they in? And what is the correlation between that population and my population? And I can be so much better about spending my advertising dollars online or offline using competitive intelligence data and not do this the way I do it today, which is by guessing. The thing to remember, one thing I want you to take away in the end, is I showed you half tools from Google, half from Google's competitors. The thing they share in common is every one of them is free, 100% free. What is expensive is your mental model and the approach you take to the web. That is very expensive. Thank you.
So let's jump right in. You've basically outlined a vision of the world without even using the word, and I'll throw it out there, is dynamic, right? You're talking about a dynamic environment in which marketers, advertisers, publishers, media companies are in sort of a cyclical and always improving kind of model.
Yep.
I would argue that we're nowhere near that in the media advertising complex. So how much of your vision is going to happen in our lifetimes where we get out of our traditional linear processes of advertising, long-term decision-making, and this lack of dynamism? Are we going to get to this point? I mean, I'm going to start with Auren because, I mean, you're in the realm of social networking. I can't think of anything that's more dynamic than that, which is also, frankly, the most bedeviling thing for advertisers and marketers right now, social marketing. Is this going to happen?
It's going to happen, but it's probably going to happen slower than we want. It's interesting. So I'll give you a quick fun stat. So on social networking, not surprisingly, a bunch of people lie about their age. Usually when they lie up or down a couple of years. The most common age that people lie about over 10 years is 69. And I'll let you chew on that for a little bit. And so when you're looking to target different people, you need to go across multiple different data sources before you can understand truly your customers. Your customers who write 69 on one site may actually write their true age on another site. And if you can go across multiple different places, you can really understand who they are, and then you can better target them.
So if data is God then, but the data is now being flawed, does that kind of shoot a hole in your argument?
Now, I think that it is important to understand that I want you to remember the magazine cover and the ad on yahoo.com. With even 90% accuracy or 80% accuracy, the data that you get from yahoo.com is exponentially better and more powerful than the data you're getting from time.com, or I'm sorry, the Time magazine. So the data you get online is much better and getting better every day. I think going back to your original question, how long is it going to take? I think it will definitely take a generation of new people to come in and understand this way of doing business. I work a lot with very, very large consumer goods company. I was at the largest consumer goods company in the world last month, and I talked to 500 brand marketers, and they have very little appreciation for what online can do or what this data can do. And yet I was at a very small ad agency in New York a couple of weeks ago, and they have this small media kitchen. And I don't know why it's called a media kitchen, but this team of 9 people are the most cutting-edge people I've seen when it comes to understanding online and the power of the data and being able to move at this speed. So I'm very optimistic that it will happen in the next couple of years. The interesting thing for each and every one of you to think about, specifically in the media, is if you're not planning and hiring people who can do this today, there is no way that you're going to be able to lead in the way that you lead today.
Alain? Yeah, I think that what's going on right now with this financial crisis could, in fact, accelerate this move. Because how to spend your marketing budget, is there any smarter way to move from what we know, and we spend a lot of money, and that someone said yesterday that it was the easiest to cut. Can we provide good alternatives with online strategies? And I think that at least that's what we're seeing right now. Providing you can use smartly all these tools, you have a really neat alternative, including, and that's what I think is very strong in the branding space, because the branding advertisers are the latest to move because they take more risk, and all their metrics, which are used in the old-fashioned world, is now a key issue. And I think they're moving, and they find out, thanks to your job, thanks to our job, that you can define the right metrics and the right KPIs for them, which are not click-through rate and which are not conversion rates, and that prove very efficient to them. So I think it might go much faster now than we could have thought a year ago.
Well, you know, it's one thing to talk about data and measurement and analytics, but it's also quite another, especially when you're in the media buying realm and you're trying to ascertain the best places for a marketer's ad spend. it's quite a different thing to talk about currency, right? And if you really think about data and currency, they're actually two different things in the ad world. I would argue that we're sort of getting into reams of data. But the problem still is, in most media forms, with the exception perhaps of online, we haven't made that translation into currency yet. So I'm going to throw this to Dean, who's working in the realm of nonlinear video, i.e. the next generation of television. Talk about a medium that is constrained by its current currency, in the United States, a Nielsen sample methodology rating. How does that translate now that you're helping companies ad serve in nonlinear environments, which are not Nielsen rated? How do we get from data, which it seems to me that there's plenty of, into currency where we can actually buy and plan and sell and do all those things to get the next generation of media consumption?
Actually, that's a really good point. I think that in our experience so far, what we've seen is it's an interesting clash between the traditional media world and the online world. And people have a tendency to assume that all television is going to the video, to the website of the house. And the reality is it's not. It's going to multiple different on-demand channels. And one of the challenges we have, and as I said earlier, is I think the technology and the data is a little bit overhyped relative to what can actually be done today. Not so much from the technology side, but from the human side. And you've got, large media companies, you've got established sales forces that are used to doing things in a very traditional way, and you've got the online guys who are used to doing things with more data, and you've got this clash, and how to make it work together. The human side of this, and I think to a certain extent it's been our experience when we go and we talk about the technology platforms, at least what we have and what others like us have, is it scares a lot of the traditional media people because they see so much choice. And I've actually been told by a very large network, look, all I want to do is get my 300-person sales force to be able to do geo-targeting. Anything beyond that scares them. And so I think the real challenge that all of us have is to balance, at least in the TV world, as we go to the on-demand side of the house more and more, is to make sure that we get ourselves well established and walk before we run. And I think setting that principle up and doing the basic things really well, really effective, and bringing in the analytic components that we've all learned to live with on the web in a prescribed fashion. And we forget that the online world's been around for, it seems like a short period of time, but 10 years. The video side of the house is brand new. And I think that we're trying to take a giant leap from the video side to do what the display side's done overnight. And I don't think you can do that. I think you have to walk before you run.
So I'm going to be provocative here, right? I think there are people in the traditional media worlds, both on the advertising side and the media property side, that don't want to see this data because they're fearful of what it might show.
I think so.
Now, I actually think there's a whole lot of positives that can come out of that, but you must fight that every day.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that it is probably the biggest barrier to progress, if you will, that people don't want to see this data. They're set in the ways, and they know exactly how to predict how many cases will move off the shelf if this ad shows up in this DMA, and they're just stuck to that and are refusing to move beyond it. Even when I think one of the big problems with many companies is that even if they tend to think that this is exactly what offline is, and that's exactly we should copy paste and do online. And they don't truly recognize the power of what can be done online. But I think that it is changing. It definitely is changing. So for example, with one of the companies that we worked for, we developed a metric called share of shelf. Now, that's a very standard, traditional metric that is used every day offline. If they want to know exactly how much share of shelf I have at Sainsbury's or Walmart or any other company. And we started to measure the digital share of shelf that they have. And it started to put things in a language that they could understand and they could comprehend. So I think what we need to work on, and all of us need to work on, is this two-way communication where we take some of the online things, translate it for offline, but more importantly, because of where the spend is today, take a lot of online things and figure out how to do those and measure those online and create this bridge. And once we start creating this bridge, there is no going back.
And I'd like to add that once one of the leaders in a market has moved, the others are going to follow, because what they find out, and specifically with behavioral targeting, we find out that you can create the clusters and the target which is proprietary to the advertiser, for example. And suddenly your ad budget becomes an asset, and this data is an investment that you're working on over time, and if you don't jump in right now, you're late. And I think that's something that also is going to accelerate the move.
You can also move from online to offline. So if you get a lot of data online, we worked with a car company, and they learned a lot about their current customers. And one of the things they learned about is who their current customers' friends are. And then they can take that information and overlay it with some other information like mails and et cetera that might buy a particular type of car. And then they can do a direct mail campaign, an old world type of campaign to those people, which they know will be, they can measure the effectiveness of it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. We haven't said the word generational in this conversation yet, but I would argue that from a media consumption perspective, generationally, younger audiences almost don't make that distinction between online and offline anyway in terms of how they consume and share and all that stuff, right? So what you're basically arguing here for is sort of a measurement sort of schema that kind of incorporates and blends the two of them because they are very reflective and collaborative with each other. But what I don't see though in the media advertising industrial complex is a flexibility to even understand, let alone ingest that kind of information. I mean, you could make the argument that we're starting already to get overloaded by data. Okay, how do we address that problem? Where we kind of say, well, we want to get a little bit more knowledgeable and more accurate and more targetable and behaviorally, as Alan is positing. Can we handle all that data? Can the agency structures today, for example, handle all that sort of plethora of data? I would argue today, no.
Yeah, and I think that most tools that you get today are essentially data pukes. That they were built on a mindset that just collect everything and puke it all out, and somebody over there is smart enough to figure it out. And I think that the investment that Google's making, the investment that everybody on this panel, I think, is making is to make data a lot more intelligent, the tools a lot more intelligent. So one of the smallest things that we've done is we said, rather than looking at 6,000 lines of data to understand something, we'll apply intelligent algorithms, very simple algorithms with some statistics to only show you things that have changed in a significant way and take those 6,500 lines of data and give you 6.
Yeah. I think
essentially highlight the things that you need to pay attention to.
I think that's a really good point. I mean, you mentioned the A/B testing. I mean, one of the things that we're seeing with the migration of television-like content to the web is everybody's putting in a pre-roll and a mid-roll, and as if that's the standard. The reality is that's a ridiculous way of running your advertising models. The models should be based on the data that maybe it's 2 10-second pre-rolls and 3 mid-rolls at places, but the next time that same consumer watches that same piece of content, it's a fundamentally different model.
Yes.
And it's different every single time, and it's different for every single person, and it's for every different piece of content, and it's different for every piece of distribution platform that you're going to watch it on. And you take it, and that's really data-driven, and then you can go back to the media agencies and show that, but you do that very quickly. So you're taking the DNA of the web, which is the ability to try, innovate, try again, and clash it in with the old media side, which is, well, this is our standard, this has been this way forever, so therefore we're going to force this model onto the web or on the mobile or on the on-demand channels, whichever. The idea is take that data and do it in a much more subtle fashion and bring that data back.
And you need to make the data really simple. When we first started working with fraud, for instance, with all these retailers, we would throw back everything in the kitchen sink for them and say, hey, go figure it out. And they actually said, no, that's too much. And what we really want to know is red, yellow, or green, and that's it.
And just an example on the French market, which certainly is going to motivate the agencies to move in this direction. I mean, French market is not a huge market. It's 150 sales houses just for display. How do you handle that? So data is an answer. I mean, you have to go through the grid of data and compare all these offers.
Okay, one last question, and then I'm going to throw it into the audience, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say that I wanted to share this term that I have learned from my friend David Hughes, which represents the transformation that's happening today. We all used to live in the offline world, and then we started to play with the online world because it was very cool. The thing that all of us need to realize is that we all now live in a non-line world. We fluidly move between online and offline and all of these things. And yet today, when we analyze data, we understand customer preferences, or create media campaigns, very rarely do we keep in mind that we don't live in an online or offline world, we live in a non-line world.
Okay, I don't see anybody rushing up, so I'm just going to ask the last question then. And I know this is maybe a Molotov because this is probably this is probably a whole nother panel. But so we talk about data, we talk about our interest in getting better data and analyzing and better targeting and making better decisions based off of that. But what about individuals' privacy or lack thereof? What is the line? And I'll start with Auren only simply because the social networking thing seems to be about where that line is probably going to be drawn. Have we crossed it yet?
the forums of the world and the Nebuads of the world kind of, have they touched that third rail, or are we still going to go there despite the implosion of those entities thus far?
Privacy is going to be increasingly important over time.
But we still need the data, though, right?
Absolutely. And so you need to be good stewards of that data. I think you should be giving your consumers ability to opt out first. You should be giving your consumers ability to change that data or move that data away or bring that data to somewhere else. You should be giving consumers the ability to totally delete all the data off your systems. And you should be very good stewards of what data you collect. Just because you can collect it doesn't mean you should collect it. Because all that data, Google has a whole department that just deals with government requesting data from them. So all that data, even if you're good stewards, the government can grab that data. Other people might be able, it could get leaked, it could get hacked. So you should only collect the data that's actually really, really important.
And I think that you have to earn the trust of your users. So I deal with 3 different teams at Google, but spend most of my time with the analytics team. And what we did last year for the analytics team, which collects data from literally, I can't say the number, a lot of websites and a lot of website data, is that we created literally the industry-leading privacy policy where the terms and conditions of the privacy policy actually prohibit you from collecting PII data, any personally identifiable information, because we wanted to be very explicit about it. But the second thing we did, which is I think I'm very proud of that the team did, is that we give you permission. So if we put Google Analytics on 23andMe, which it is there, on 23andMe, we give Esther the power to tell us if we can look at the data. We give her 3 choices. Can we look at your data knowing that it's your data? Yes or no? Can we look at your data anonymized? And should we never look at your data? Every single person who uses analytics is forced to make one of those 3 choices, and only based on that permission will we look at the data given what you choose, or we will not look at the data at all. Not even internally within Google can anybody look at your data. And I think more steps like this from many different players will create trust in our users, and that is good for the ecosystem. It's just one specific examples of things that we need to do.
Someday we'll get to that web and that digital utopia, right, where we can trust each other for all that data. But anyway, so in a short spirit of time, hopefully we touched on a couple of nerves, and thanks for your attention.
And I am weeping about this, to have to cut this off.
Very well. Thank you very much, everybody.
Video, guys.